In this video, I'm going to go over with you the tapping points. And one of the things that I love about EFT tapping is that if you are feeling stressed or anxious or overwhelmed, that oftentimes just by going through the tapping points, that you'll start to feel calmer. So often we get concerned about what we should be saying when really it's just going through the process. So for right now, I don't want you to worry about, setup statements, what you should be saying. This is about just becoming familiar with the tapping points. So your first point is the karate chop point, and that is on the side of your hand right here. And you're just going to tap. And you don't need to tap really hard, just tap enough to where you can feel it. And as you're doing this, just take some deep breaths in and out. And then the next point is the eyebrow point. So that is right here, right in this area. And you're just going to tap. And then the next point is the side of the eye, the eyebrow, the end of the eyebrow, just right in this area. And don't worry about the exact point because you're using, 2 to 3 of the tips of your fingers. So you're covering a good area. So just tap. And then the next point is under the eye. And then the next point is, under the nose, right above your upper lip. And if you have really long fingernails, then, if this is difficult for you, then go like this. Whatever works best for you. And then the next point is right below your lip and your chin, right in that middle area here, and you're just gonna tap. And again, whichever way feels right to you. And then your next point is your collarbone. So you're gonna feel where your collarbone's at, and right in this area, you're just gonna tap. And some people, and this is completely up to you, it doesn't matter what side you're doing it on, and some people prefer to do both sides. So they'll tap like this. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, it's whatever feels right to you. And here's the thing also with tapping, that you might get to a certain point where you spend more time on that point because for some reason you're just feeling more of a sense of release when you're on that tapping point. And then the next point is on your side. And this one, it can be a little bit uncomfortable. It's about, for women, it's about at your bra line. So you can tap like this, or what you can do is you can reach around with your other arm, and it's almost like you're giving yourself a hug. And you can tap that way. And then the final point is on the top of your head, about halfway back, and you're just gonna tap. And that's a full round of tapping. So again, we have the karate chop point, the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the eye, under the nose, your chin, your collarbone, your side, and the top of your head. And that is one round of tapping. Now, just so you're aware, when you're doing the tapping, when you get into using the setup statements, that is where you're going to do the karate chop point and do your setup statements. I'll get more into that in with the actual tapping session. But as you are going through a round of tapping, you're going to do your setup statement, go through all of your points, and then as you are continuing on with that tapping session, there's no need to do the karate chop point. The karate chop point is just to get you started, to do your setup statement, and then you're going to go through. So here's basically what it's going to look like when you're doing an actual tapping session. When you're using your setup statement, you're going to tap, you're going to do your setup statement 3 times. Like I said, don't worry about that right now. I'm just giving you this information so when you actually get into a tapping session. So you're going to have your setup statement that you are going to repeat 3 times. And then after that, you're going to go through the rest of your tapping points. And I usually spend more time on the tapping points. I'm just going through this a little bit quicker for you. And then when you get to the top of the head, which is your final point, then you're going to continue on and go to your eyebrow and continue on with your tapping. And you're going to do this until you start to feel a little bit better. What I recommend is that when you begin a tapping session, even if you are just going through the process and not worrying about setup statements and what you're going to say, but before you begin, rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. And 1, being like, no, I'm good, I feel good, to 10 being like, I'm very anxious. I am, feeling a lot of anxiety. So that way, as you are going through the tapping, you can kind of rate yourself as you're going along. Say if you started out at a level 9, but then after going through a few rounds, you may be at a 7. Or you may be at a 5. So as long as you're making some progress and bringing yourself down, then that's great progress. And this is not like a one and done. It's not like you're going to do this and then never have the anxiety or anything like that. But this is a wonderful tool to be able to use. So again, the karate chop point is your first point. And then you move on to the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the nose, your chin, your collarbone, your side, and the top of your head. And here's another thing too, is that as you are going through the tapping points, and say that you're on your eyebrow point, and then you move to under your eye, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to do the side of the eye. Don't worry about it, just keep going. This is not a process where you have to worry about, I have to tap so many times, I have to make sure I get to every point. Because here's one way that I have used tapping is sometimes if I'm in traffic and I start to get anxious, that you can just start tapping on one point. And oftentimes that is good enough. So that's why it's such an amazing tool to use, really, no matter where you're at. Just whatever point feels good to you, you just tap that point and see if that actually helps you to feel better and go from a level 9. And even if you went from a level 9 to a level 8, that is still progress that you are making. So All right, that is the tapping, those are the tapping points. And so just get yourself familiar with those and practice that. And we will have some tapping sessions coming up. So happy tapping.